Another interesting aspect related to financial liabilities is the negotiation with banks and financiers. Sometimes debt providers are interested in the way a company will act throughout the loan life and want to be sure the firm will continue to behave in a certain way. Financiers want to have a mechanism that would allow them to enforce their principles and redetermine how borrowers can act. By having such mechanisms, financiers would be much calmer, as they would believe that they have maximized their chances of being repaid in full. The contractual mechanisms that ensure certain behavior by borrowers are called debt covenants. There are three types of debt covenants financiers can impose on borrowers: positive, negative, and financial. Positive covenants consist of actions the borrower must do. For example, the borrower can be required to source its raw materials from at least 3 different suppliers. Negative covenants prohibit the borrower from taking a certain action. The borrower is not allowed to distribute as dividends more than 50% of the firm's previous year net income. Financial covenants determine a specific financial condition to be satisfied. The firm can't have an interest coverage ratio below 15. Or another example could be the company's quick ratio has to be over 1.5, and so on. Whenever a borrower isn't compliant with one of these conditions, there can be several penalties involved. They can be required to pay additional interest expenses, or perhaps even repay a portion of their entire loan. Therefore, whenever companies agree to a financing involving covenant clauses, their management becomes cautious and monitors the company's compliance with covenants. The main reasons banks require covenants is because they make them that much calmer. In certain situations, there can be a real conflict of interest between lenders and shareholders. Lenders are primarily concerned with the firm's solvency capacity. They want to make sure they'll be repaid in full. Shareholders have invested their money and are eager to get a decent rate of return. The sooner they receive dividends and the more aggressively the firm behaves, the higher the chances of them receiving a higher return. Companies can't do both things simultaneously. Be cautious and make sure they'll build a stable growth model that will repay their loans, and pay significant dividends and bet on high growth opportunities that are significantly riskier. This is why banks and financiers see covenants as tools that allow them to define the game's rules. From the borrower's perspective, the less covenants are involved, the better it is. Management teams are not happy when they have their hands tied, and a breach of a covenant could result in a significant fine for their business. That's why this is a subtle moment when choosing different financing alternatives. The less covenants there are, the better for a company.